Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@usaprepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class with us today. We're delighted you're with us. We broadcast 2 hours a day, 5 days a week from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains for now. And Jason's engineering the broadcast. If you'd like to call us, we'll pay for the call, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line is up. It's 712-770-9418. Thank you, Global Star, for making that available to our class. Dr. Shealy's with us. Welcome, Dr. Shealy. Are you blessed?
Yeah. Why not? It's better than the other way around.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the indigestion that we're probably going to cause with today's discussion about the corona panic, I'd like to say that early on in this pandemic, I coined the term corona panic. Now, this term has become used by others, and I want to thank them for agreeing with me at a time when others believe that this is not real. They think it's a fake. They think it's a fraud. And yes, there could be many, many different exploitations of this pandemic for personal gain, personal greed, control of the people, locking them down. Yes, absolutely. This all could be true. Any and all could be true. But the point is you have to survive it. And in many ways, in my opinion, that this is similar to the Spanish influenza of 1918 that infected 500 million people in the world and killed between 50 and 100 million people in the world. And the Spanish influenza infected, at the time, 1/4 of the world's population. Now, survival at that time, I believe, was dependent largely on hygiene and a strong immune system. And one item that most forgot about right now is plain old soap. Dr. Shealy, your comments?
Well, there's nothing better than soap. I mean, we can't bathe in hydrochloric acid, and hydroperoxide is okay, but, it's just not as useful. Soap is definitely the first line of defense.
Yeah, well, I think you can bathe in hydrochloric acid for about, a second.
Well, yeah. But I haven't heard of a shortage of hydrochloric acid yet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So here's an interesting thought, Dr. Shealy. The International Olympic Committee said on Sunday, that was yesterday, that postponing the now that was yesterday, so today it could be completely different. But yesterday they said that postponing the 2020 Olympics is one of its options as the world grapples with the corona pandemic. But cancellation of the Tokyo showpiece was not on the agenda. I'd like to make a comment about that. Now, this is Japan. This is the same country that attacked the United States in 1941 on December 7th and destroyed our naval fleet at Pearl Harbor and kicked off World War II. And this is the same country that poisoned all of the world's oceans beginning in 2011 with the meltdown of their nuclear reactors. And they don't know if they want to continue this trend of destruction with the worldwide Olympic Games held in Tokyo, Japan. They don't know. And here's the thing. The Olympic Games are just that. They are games. They are not mission critical in any stretch of the imagination. Dr. Shealy, your thoughts about that?
Well, you know what's interesting? I was 9 years and 3 days old when Pearl Harbor took place. I remember that extremely well. We moved from a little town of 5,000 people out to a farm 3 miles away with 600 acres, and we actually had, I believe, 1,000 troops who landed on our farm from the air and did maneuvers there preparing for World War II. And even though I sometimes say it's the worst panic we've had, it is infinitely worse. We did not have a panic when World War II came along. We had a mobilization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I definitely believe we have a panic now, and I knew it was coming, and I should say I believed that it was coming for months now, and here it is with the supply chain shortages and so forth. So here's an interesting story. We got a call over the weekend from someone we know in Virginia, and this person put gloves on, those latex gloves, got in their vehicle, drove to the public library to return some books. While it's still reasonably safe to get in a vehicle and do that. This person has been their business has been shut down. So this person is at home and wanted to get the books back to the library. It's just a reasonable thing to do. Get the books back to the library and before fines and all that. Well, this is in Rappahannock, Virginia. And let me just read what it says. So we got this message that the library is no longer accepting books from return inside the library or outside in the, that drawer handle you pull down and you slide your books in there and they go into a bin, so you can drop them off from the outside without going inside the building. They're not accepting books for return, period. So so I went to the internet and I went to their website. And the headline is, on their website, the Rappahannock Regional Library, says, all Central Rappahannock Regional Library branches closed March 16th through March 29th. To help prevent the spread of COVID-19 in our community, all Central Rappahannock Regional Library branches will be closed Monday, March 16th through Sunday, March 29th. All holds will be suspended through March 29th. I guess it means holding books for pickup. All late fees accrued between March 16 and 29 will be waived once the library reopens. Please keep all materials as the book drops are closed. That's what it says. Now, it says they're closed on March 16th through March 29th, but it doesn't say they're going to reopen. It just says they're closed. And I think it was written that way very carefully because they probably are going to have to say, yeah, and we're still closed, and we're going to be closed for another 2 weeks or another 2 months or whatever they happen to decide. But what I'm saying is, this is so serious. Library employees don't want to touch the books from your home back to them. Have you heard anything like that, Dr. Shealy?
Well, I haven't heard about that, but I'm not surprised.
Right.
I mean, let's face it. I think it's Philadelphia, where they're not going to arrest criminals for anything.
almost anything. They're gonna try kindness, but they say that kindness is in short supply, and so.
In fact, it doesn't exist.
So they're going to say, listen, would you don't show us that marijuana you're smoking. Would you turn away so we don't see that heroin injection that you're giving yourself? That way we don't have to touch you with these handcuffs and put you in our vehicle and have you breathe on us. That's really what they're saying. And across the country, prisoners are being released because they know that the prisons are a sweat house and it's a great petri dish breeding ground for the coronavirus to infect people that are locked in there, and including Harvey Weinstein. He now has tested positive for the coronavirus while he's been under lock and key. So they gave it to him. They gave him the coronavirus.
That is not quite as bad, maybe, as AIDS, but it's due justice, maybe.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting thing about that. You know, in the old days, you know, in the Jeffrey Epstein days, you know, they had to figure out how they were going to get in there and, you know, sneak in there and kill him. Now they don't have to do that. Now all they have to do is have an infected prisoner just walk around and, you know, go visit the Charles Mansons and the Jeffrey Dahmers and the, you know, and those. That's all they have to do now. And no one will know exactly how this happened. So there doesn't need to be an injection of poison. There doesn't need to be a baseball bat. There doesn't need to be a bullet. There doesn't need to be a strangulation. All they need to have is someone walk by, and a few days later, the person's suffering, and if they don't get medical attention right away, which is just oxygen, that's all they can do right now, and a respirator and fluids, and vitamin C if they're smart enough, right? Then the person might die. As a matter of fact, you and I were talking over the weekend, and I mentioned, and I'd love to hear your reaction to this, because this is a medical ethics question that's, I mean, I don't know how anybody could grapple with this in the medical profession, but they are, and they have, and they've made decisions on it already. Italy, about a couple days ago, said that if you're over 80 years old, there's nothing they're going to do for you. They're not going to treat you, because they have so many people who are younger that anyone over 80 they weren't going to treat for the coronavirus. I
just heard on the news this morning that in Italy it's now anybody over 60.
That's correct. That's correct. And it went from 80 to 60 in a couple days. Literally a couple days. Because they announced the 80 a couple days ago, and now it's 60. That's exactly right. What do you think about that, Dr. Shealy? Is that immoral? Or, I mean, these people are now, whoever's making these decisions, are making life and death decisions based on age.
Well, to me, it's the opposite of medical ethics, but I'm not an authority on this kind of epidemic. It just is foreign to me.
Okay. Well, so, Dr. Shealy, how do you feel about, 4 people coming to the hospital, 2 of them being, and let's say in their 50s, and 2 of them being 61 or 62 or 63, and just deciding, isn't that? I mean, would you live with that the rest?
If I had to make a choice, I would pick the person who's sickest.
Huh?
That's what I would think of as common medical ethics.
Right. That makes sense to me. If the person is repairable. If the person has been, the sickest one has been shot with a machine gun, is leaking all over, you might say, well, this guy's got 10 seconds left, even though he's the sickest. But under normal circumstances, I absolutely positively agree with you. But that's not what's happening. People are being allowed to live or die based on age. Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, and Dr. Shealy, I received this morning from Joey in Michigan, one of our instructors, and he said the World Health Organization says avoid ibuprofen to alleviate the coronavirus symptoms. It says the World Health Organization quickly recommended on March 17th that people suffering from COVID-19 symptoms should avoid taking ibuprofen after the warning became public. They say that the so-called non-steroidal anti-inflammatories like ibuprofen worsen the symptoms of the illness caused by the coronavirus. And it said that some patients have experienced serious adverse effects while taking these non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Your thoughts?
Well, obviously, in a sense, I don't know how much evidence they have of that. I mean, is that different from aspirin? Is it different from the other nonsteroidals? I don't know. I haven't heard any medical evidence about that. On the other hand, I can understand that taking almost anything when you've already got symptoms of a major viral illness can sometimes go the wrong way. Our bodies are very sensitive. And once our immune system has collapsed enough to allow a major virus in, I mean, we don't know, for instance, in a group of any age, how healthy you are to start with, how much it takes to make you come ill with the virus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what would you recommend if someone exhibits the symptoms? Would you?
Well, I love the idea of using the hot air with a hair dryer. I've received several things about that, including a video that shows breathing 5 minutes in 2 or 3 times when you feel a symptom come on. The virus apparently cannot live, and I believe it is 153 degrees. And going into a sauna can help, but using a plain old hair dryer and just inhaling it with every breath and turning it away from your body when you're breathing out, supposedly will kill the virus. I like that idea better.
Okay, but 153 degrees will burn you, right?
Not in the air coming in.
Okay.
You wet your face. You spray your face with water and just breathe it as you breathe in. Turn the hair dryer away as you breathe out, back and forth for 5 minutes. And they show pictures of it, and it makes sense to me.
Okay, so class, if you want to know more about this, why don't you do some research for yourself, make your own decision, and see what you think. Now, one thing I would suggest that you do before many hair dryers have a screen, and the screen traps some of the dust. So you may want to, that trapped dust will raise the temperature even higher. Now that might be too much. So what I'm saying is there's less volume of air blowing across those nichrome wire coils, so that it would be much hotter. So be very careful. So you may want to remove the dust from the screen on your hair dryer, okay? And you also want to make sure that you run it for a minute or two to get any dust that might be trapped in the hair dryer to blow out, so you don't inhale that and make everything even worse. Dr. Shealy, your comments about that?
Yeah, in fact, in the picture they showed in the video, they show you with your fingers partially blocking the intake of air on the back of the dryer.
Okay, so that would increase. That would do the same thing that dust would do. It would increase the temperature because you'd have less flow of air over the same amount of heated coils. So,
yeah, they say the opposite.
Oh, really? They say the opposite? Well, they're wrong. They're wrong, because if you restrict the airflow, you'll have less air blowing over the nichrome wires, and it will get hotter with less air. It absolutely will.
As
no
I
question.
said, there's so much information out there, and I don't think you can unequivocally 100% believe any of it.
Yeah. When we come back, I'll do a little bit of research during the break, and I'll see what I can find out and share with Dr. Shealy, and we can discuss it if I can find something relevant. Now, we can talk about some of the economics of this and what's happening in restaurants. You won't believe this. We'll be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us, class. If you'd like to find him on the Internet, you can go to normshealy.com, NormShealy.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, I think we've been broadcasting about 9 years, because I started in 2011, and that's about, and you were like right there there in the very beginning. Think that's about right?
I think so.
Almost 10 years? Yeah.
It was in the summer.
Yeah. I'm looking at a map, Dr. Shealy, just to talk about how this panic has progressed. And I'm looking at a map that shows the average, this is restaurants, okay, across the United States, and how they're faring, with the same week last year. So this is quite stunning. There are only 3 states in the United States that have an increase in restaurant revenue. Only 3. Montana, Oklahoma. Montana's 1% more than the same week in 2019, the same week last year. Montana's 1% more, Oklahoma's 1% more, and New Jersey is 19% more. Every other state is in decline. And some of the big declines are, Washington State, 28% down. Oregon, 29% down. California, 28% down. Texas, 3%. Florida, 13%. Georgia, 24%. Here in Missouri, we're only down 25.1%. Illinois, 25.7%. So all the states are in decline. New York, 29, actually roughly 30% down. And it's just starting to get a foothold. So I can see the domino effect very clearly, Dr. Shealy, that as restaurants are in decline, that restaurant employees will lose their jobs, and they won't be able to pay the rent. They won't be able to make the car payments. They'll be really in bad shape. And so will everybody else. And it's not just the restaurant employees. I think this is just a microcosm of what we're facing. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's going to affect every single business in the country one way or the other, mostly negatively. And I don't see how we can avoid something just slightly worse than 1929.
Okay, we're in total agreement. We are in absolute total agreement. I just think it'll be much, 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 much worse. Now, 1929 was the first Great Depression. And I've made the statement that we are in my opinion, we are in the second Great Depression and have been for a while.
It will become the greater or greatest.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it will be the greatest depression of all time. And I know that many people have said that this is a fraud, fake, a hoax, BS. I'm not convinced that that's the case. I'm convinced just the opposite, that this is real and that there are plenty of conspiracy theories that may also be true, exploiting the hardships and the destruction of this pandemic. And I've heard people say publicly on air that this is not a pandemic. That is quite far from the truth. If you look up the definition of pandemic, you'll find it's true. Dr. Shealy, would you say that this is a pandemic?
It looks to me as if it's pretty unequivocal. I don't know what the legal definition of a pandemic is. I know what the emotional feeling of a pandemic is, and I think we're in it.
Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you, paraphrasing, I can tell you what the legal definition is. It's a disease that spreads more than the typical flu. So the flu might happen every year, at the same seasonality, but about the same numbers, and it doesn't really spread worldwide, and it doesn't increase with an increasing frequency. So it doesn't increase with increases over the increases. So the pandemic is one that spreads to all continents, one that increases in frequency over any other time that there's been an illness like that. I mean, that would be a paraphrased definition of a pandemic, which this meets, because every day it seems to get, the numbers aren't getting lower, they're getting higher. As a matter of fact, every 3, 4, 5 days, it doubles. So it fits the definition of a pandemic, according to, the official definition. And medically, I think that you've said what it feels like. It feels like a pandemic. And if you read the news, how can you avoid knowing about this thing, right? I've seen people with gloves on. Dr. Shealy, our gate is locked. So let's talk about a little more anecdotal evidence of what's happening. Let's talk about the U.S. mail. Okay? So we live in rural America, happens to be Missouri, and so do you, Dr. Shealy. Now, don't you have some guy or gal riding around in a Jeep or a similar vehicle that has a light on it that says U.S. Mail or U.S. Postal Service or something like that with flashing lights that stops at the mailboxes and it goes from mailbox to mailbox? Don't you have something like that? We do.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. All right. So those people are paid by the route. Okay. So, they used to like it when they would stop here and we'd give them packages for shipping. They'd come down this driveway, and we have a long driveway. It's about, it's pretty long. And just like you do, Dr. Shealy. And they would drive down the driveway and bring us our packages and say, do you have anything to ship? Now, they would get paid more. They get paid more if they increased their pickups, because that's like selling. Well, now what's happening is with people buying online from Walmart.com and SamsClub.com and Amazon.com, now the Postal Service people are annoyed because they're not picking up little packages. They're delivering heavy items. Like at our house, they're delivering things like power steering racks, rack and pinion steering racks. Might weigh 30 pounds, a 3-foot long box. People are buying their food, cases of food. Now the U.S. Postal Service has become the delivery service for a lot of companies that people don't want to visit because the customers don't want to get the coronavirus, so they're buying things online. Now the postal employees are getting frosted because now they're having to work harder. And I'm not exaggerating. They're frosted, and they're annoyed. Now, who are they annoyed with? The customers. They're annoyed with the people that they used to like to see. But now the people like us are getting things delivered by the Postal Service. They're annoyed. And I'm not exaggerating. They're complaining. Now, so what do? Do we try to appease the postal employees? Or do we say, tough, that's your job. Get over it. Or quit.
Pragmatic reality.
Well, okay, so we ordered some dog food. Now, and if you go to Walmart.com, and if you've got your thinking cap on, and you figure out that it costs less to go order dog food in 50-pound bags from Walmart.com than it costs, in gas to go get it, and if you live in a lower tax area, as we do, it's stupid for us to go buy dog food at Walmart, even without the virus. Add the virus to it, and it's insanity going to Walmart. So we have ordered dog food. It's already been delivered, over a while ago. So it's already here. And what Walmart has to do is package the dog food in a heat-shrinked, sealed, heavy-duty bag. So now it's in another bag, which is now a garbage bag for us. And they deliver it, and it costs less, and it comes by UPS. Now, the UPS driver doesn't say, would you all knock this off? He's glad to have a job. But that's different from the government employees who are annoyed because they have to work a little harder. But what I'm saying a lot of things in those few comments. One is, I suggest that y'all consider buying online, and then what you can do what we do. We use gloves, and we unload with gloves and a mask, okay, because we don't want the dust on us. And then we leave it in the sun for a couple days for the ultraviolet light of the sun to disinfect it. Dr. Shealy, your comments about that?
Well, it's interesting. I've never thought about ordering my dog food that way, but I just went to the little store over in Fair Grove Friday and got new, a month supply. And I'm just looking it up on the Internet, and in general, what I find on the Internet is somewhat more expensive than I was paying at in Fair Grove. But I might keep looking and see if I can.
Okay. Do you have a Sam's Club? Do you have a Sam's Club account?
I used to. I haven't been there in several years, so I didn't renew it last year.
Okay. Let me give you an example. So we bought Purina dog food, dry dog food. So it's a name brand. Now, I won't say it's the very, very best. It's hard to get the very, very best. So to keep our dogs alive, I bought some Purina dog food, 50-pound bags, delivered at a lower tax rate, 6.1% here versus 8 point something in Springfield. And there's a Sam's Club in Springfield, so I'd have to pay about 8 or 9% sales tax. So it's now 6% because we have it delivered, and it's about $21 for 50 pounds for Purina.
Wow. That's inexpensive.
That's delivered.
Yeah.
For 50 pounds.
That is good.
Now, they also, they've been messing with the sizes, and you get the fun size, which is, when they have fun size pieces of candy, they're big enough to find the wrapper, but not small enough to find the candy. They cheat, and they call it fun size, and that's my terminology for how they rip us off. But, yeah, you can get, or you can buy Old Roy, which is the Walmart house brand of dog food, and I'm sure it's made by a major manufacturer of dog food. There are only a few manufacturers anyway. And it's about $19 in change for 50 pounds. Delivered to your door, double wrapped. Yeah. So, class, I suggest you think about that, and that's Sam's Club. Now, you have to be a member of Sam's Club. And I think membership is about $35 a year. Or the deluxe, top-of-the-line premium membership, and I forget what that's called, it's $100 a year. But you get percentages back. So if you get the $100 a year one, you can get 5% back on your fuel that you buy at Sam's Club, which is even less, or fuel that you buy at any other gas station, 5% back. And you get free shipping on anything or almost anything that you buy. So if you think about it, $100 doesn't go very far in shipping costs. Just shipping. I think it would cost $50 to ship a dog food bag with 50 pounds in it to you, Dr. Shealy, from here. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Shealy's with us, and just to round out that discussion, Dr. Shealy, Old Roy, which is Walmart's brand of dog food, $19.98, 50 pounds shipped to you. And if you want to get one of their credit cards, which is the Capital One Walmart Rewards card, you can get an additional 5% back, but there's some gotchas, and one is you have to use your smartphone to use the Walmart Pay with that credit card. So I wouldn't do that part, but I would and have. I have bought the dog food, so I want to suggest that. I did some fact-checking on the Internet about the hair dryer. Hot air from the hair dryer will kill the coronavirus. Now, on the surface, it seems like it might have some benefits, but what I read is both. I read both. Yes, it does. No, it doesn't. So the answer is you'll have to do your own research, class, because I don't know. And Dr. Shealy, you haven't tested this, have you?
No.
Okay, so
I don't have a hair dryer.
Yeah. Well, and sooner or later, those who have them will find out that they stop working, and they're going to have difficulty replacing them. So you might want to learn how to fix a hair dryer, class, because that's coming your way. I ordered 3 thermometers over a month ago, probably 6 weeks ago, from China, and it said the delivery would be in a week to 2 weeks, something like that. And it looks like it's going to be a couple more months. So it's a slow boat from China, if at all they get here. And I'm under the understanding that some of the stores that sell thermometers are out of them, like the dollar store and so forth. The ones I bought were the mercury-type thermometers, the good old-fashioned ones that will work forever until you drop them or break them. So I ordered 3 of them, and they were a little over $1 a piece and shipped from China. And that's where they make them anyway. So if you want one, it's going to be from China. We don't make them. Bottom line is, I don't know if I'll ever get them. So that's one thought. So in Dr. Shealy, in Australia, the Prime Minister has ordered all pubs and licensed venues to shut down starting today. Okay? And that's clubs, movie theaters, cinemas, gyms, nightclubs, casinos, places of worship, and they all are to shut down. Now, the government schools are still open, so children are in school today, but they want people to follow social distancing rules. What are your thoughts about some of these lockdowns that have happened, Dr. Shealy? That's just one.
Well, I heard a long discussion about it on the radio coming in this morning, and at least in some states, they are exempting physicians and nurses from the lockdowns, but not practically anybody else. And they haven't issued that kind of thing here in Missouri yet. But, we all need to pay attention. That's one thing where we must at least keep up with the daily changes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in Australia, there's a list of what will close and what will stay open. And this is the reason, why are we mentioning Australia? Because we all live on the same planet. And the Australians may think in a similar fashion to what we do here in the United States, just as Europe may. Now, there's some differences, of course, in our thoughts and how we react, but people are people, and to a large degree, we think in a similar way. Well, what will close in Australia are registered and licensed clubs, licensed premises in hotels and pubs. I'm reading this verbatim. Restaurants will only be able to provide a takeaway service, meaning takeout. Places of worship will close. Cinemas, nightclubs, casinos, and other forms of indoor entertainment will close. Funerals will have to follow an enforced 4-meter rule. That's about 12 feet. So no one gets closer to anyone else than 12 feet. Now, what will stay open in Australia, supermarkets, shopping centers, bottle shops. Now, I think a bottle shop would be a liquor store, schools, hairdressers, and beauticians. Now, I don't understand this, because one thing that would absolutely spread the coronavirus, in my opinion, would be a hairdresser and a beautician. Absolutely.
I agree. And it seems to me, of course, one of the obvious places where there's more than 12 people in a room is classrooms, schools.
Right. So it looks like there's two choices. One, do you want to save the economy, or do you want to save people? Now, if you want to save people, you lock everything down and nobody moves. But there are a lot of problems associated with that, like food, supplies, medicine. There's a lot of problems with that. Now, if you let people move, they're going to spread the virus and more will die. But the economy will be a little better off. But it looks like we're doing both, and we're going to get the worst of both, and very few benefits of both. So it looks like people are going to die, and it looks like the financial industry is going to collapse, and commerce is going to collapse, and we will be in worse financial shape than the first Great Depression. Those are my thoughts. Dr. Shealy, any comments before we go into our break?
Agree.
Okay. All right. I've got more anecdotal evidence and more stories that we can share and discuss when we come back about the coronavirus. Dr. Shealy and I are talking about the corona panic, and I just got a couple emails. I checked them at the top of the hour from Joanne. She's a USA Preparedness instructor. She lives in the East Coast. And she said that the Newark Library, special edition, that all Newark, Delaware, it's pronounced Newark in Delaware, and it's pronounced Newark in New Jersey, but it's spelled the same, Newark. So in Newark, Delaware, all the Newcastle County libraries are closed, as I mentioned, as they are in Virginia, in the county in Virginia. So just a thought about that. So it's spreading, and maybe your library is closed too. And the House, Delaware, the House just issued a statement that the governor closed Delaware beaches. until May 15th. So they're closed. So governments around the country, local, county, state, federal, are taking actions to lock down the movement of people, where people would just love to spread the disease through their ignorance and carelessness and recklessness. But so it's happening. And you're going to find that more and more of us aren't going to be able to go where we want to go because we'll be prevented. Dr. Shealy, any comments about that?
Well, be prepared. My favorite statement.
The governor of California issued a statewide stay-at-home order. Now, his numbers are a little lower than others. He says that 56% of the residents will be infected. 56%. That's a huge number. Now, I've seen numbers bigger than that. I've seen 80%. I've seen 90%. And I've seen everyone will be infected. So that's why, class, the Finelli family is taking this extremely seriously. I honestly do not believe that all of these heads of government, whether they be local, county, state, federal, and all of these heads of industry would be shutting down their companies if this weren't real. I don't believe that would be possible. Now, I do believe that they're using this crisis for their own advantage. Like I believe that the three automobile manufacturers, Fiat, Chrysler as one, General Motors as another one, and Ford as the third, would take this opportunity to shut down their production lines because there are too many automobiles. It's as simple as that. So this is a way that they could say, you know what, we're keeping our employees healthy by shutting down. Now the airlines are shutting down too, but now everybody wants a bailout. The banks want a bailout. The automotive industry wants a bailout. The airlines want a bailout. Stores want a bailout. Everybody wants a bailout, including Tom, Dick, and Harry, because this is the Depression. This is what it's like. Dr. Shealy, I asked my dad over the years many, many times when he was alive, and I was growing up and I learned about the Depression, and you know, my grandmother darned socks. You know, she would, now, you know, when we have a hole in our socks, we throw them away. But that's not the way it used to be. During the first Great Depression, the women would tend to sew the socks back together, you know, rebuild the toes. And they would darn them back together. And they would sew holes in pants, and they'd make patches. And because you couldn't get them, and if you could get them, you couldn't afford them. And so I asked my dad, so Dad, what did things cost during the Depression? And his answer was always the same. And I'm talking 5-10 years apart. The answer was always the same. Then it didn't matter. Nobody had any money. Didn't matter what it cost because nobody had any money. And I think because nobody had any money, it wasn't necessary to even try to figure out what things cost because it was too much. It cost too much. Dr. Shealy, have you heard of discussions like that? Father and son, or father and daughter, or mother and daughter?
Indeed. And, of course, I was born at the height of the Depression, 1932. Mm-hmm. And obviously I don't remember anything financially before age 5 or 6. But fortunately, because my father worked as a butcher in a grocery store, we never had a problem with food. Mm-hmm. And we lived on a farm. But I know that a lot of people did have great financial trouble.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you not have trouble with food because he was a butcher, because he was able to get little pieces here and there and put it together and, you know, make enough to eat?
I'm not aware of skimping. All I'm aware of is that we never had a problem that I'm aware of. And we were certainly not, rich people. But we came through it fine. And I know a lot of people didn't. But my grandparents did. My grandparents lived only on a farm. And they came through it. So I think it's the question of how self-sufficient people are to some extent.
Mm-hmm. Well, because my parents went through the first Great Depression, they learned how to save. They learned how to stretch things so they lasted longer. We didn't throw things out. If a nail got bent, we took the hammer and hit it on a vise and straightened it back out and used it. We didn't throw it away. It was a sin to throw things away. That's what I was taught. It was a sin to waste. It was a sin to throw things away that were good.
Well, I would say that was part of growing up. I thought that was normal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We were taught values. We were taught not to waste anything. And I was told and taught by example we don't throw it away until it's absolutely worn out. Threadbare, clothes became, rags for cleaning. And when they wouldn't stay together any longer and they would just, crumble in your hands, then you threw them out. Or maybe used it for a little bit of heat in the wood stove. But we didn't throw anything out. Let's see. We've got David here. Let me put him on the air. David in Illinois, welcome. You're on with Dr.
Hey,
Shealy.
how you doing?
You always say that. You always say, hey, how you doing? And you know what, David?
What?
When I answer the phone, I use the same expression. I always say, hey. And when people call me, they say, hey. It's interesting how these things are catching. So how can we help you, David? And thank you for calling.
Yeah. Now, you were talking earlier about, now my grandparents went through the Depression. I wasn't really going to talk about this, but they had their own land and they had all their own food, and he stored up always ahead of time on heating oil, so they didn't have to do without because them from Germany and migrated over here. They knew what it was like when the wars would come, so he always said there's food everywhere if you just know where to get it. So they never did without. So,
okay. So here's something that I'd like to consider, or like to suggest that you all consider, class. Dr. Shealy wrote, if you're going to buy one book, if you're only going to buy one book, this is it. And it's the encyclopedia, the illustrated encyclopedia of healing remedies. It's about 500 pages. I believe it's out of print. Is that right, Dr. Shealy?
Yes, as far as I know. But I'm sure you can find a few here and there.
Okay. I found one for me. I found one for our family. I found one for Dr. Shealy. And you can buy it on the internet right now. It is the single most important book you can have in your collection. And you can get it on eBay right now. And I don't understand. It makes no sense to me why anybody would sell this book and ship it for less than $10. Makes no sense. No sense at all. It's one of the finest books ever written. Yes. Go ahead.
There's another location you can get acquire his books in that book for people that, like seniors that get like Library of Congress audio books. His books are on there. So
that's great.
If you need it in the format that you can, consume it, read it, it's there. So his books, there's about 3 or 4 of his books there, your books. So
did you know that, Dr. Shealy?
I'm sorry?
Did you know that your books are in the Library of Congress?
Oh, yes, I think many of them are.
They're on audio.
How many have you written so far, Dr. Shealy?
37.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, I think it's about 36. Wow, okay.
Well, the number 37 is almost ready to go to print.
Okay, wonderful. David, please continue.
Okay, what I was going to say is, but I agree with you about that. He made everything. He didn't buy a door, they built the door. But anyways, now I have a problem with them choosing who to help over the older people in our country, because these young people are going out there purposely trying to get sick. And some of them may not, but the treatment, and they'll walk out of the hospital, but the treatment is long, it's harsh, and it requires a lot of resources that could be help for somebody else. And if that's the case and they want to think, that's fine, stick them in a room, say, you're on your own.
I can.
They did it.
I can see our sons, if Mrs. Finelli or I were to contract it, and there were a doctor involved, and the doctor said to our family, we don't treat people over 60. You know that, right? I know that my sons would use something like this, some of the verbiage like this. I think our sons would say, no, I don't think. I know our sons would say, doctor, please choose carefully what you do. I think that's what would happen.
And I've seen some of the videos where they went in other countries and they told to see the families right there saying, okay, well, we're just going to leave him here because he's this age. We have to help other people. And that must be hard to deal with. I mean, I don't, it's just sad we're in this situation. And it irritates me that they want to blame Trump on everything like he's God. And this is all his fault. I mean, who could have seen this?
Let's ask Dr. Shealy. Is it Donald Trump's fault, Dr. Shealy?
Heavens, no. I can't say it's any single person's fault. And to me, Trump's done as good a job as anyone can, consider the chaos that he's been under since he went into office.
That guy, that man has it really tough because he's got traitors and people committing treason, biting at his heels, tearing him down, tripping him, every which way he turns, and he's still upright. He still has not yielded completely to these traitors, and you got to hand it to him. He's a lot tougher than Barry Soetoro or the Bushes. Class, we're watching the country collapse right in front of us. Dr. Shealy's with us, David's with us, and just to give you a little more anecdotal evidence. So, the Dow Jones Industrial Average year to date is down 34%. 34%. It's lost a little over a third of its high for the year. The biggest losers of the Dow Jones Industrial 30 are Boeing. Year-to-date losses for the following companies are Boeing down 70%, 70%. Chevron 54% down. Disney 42% down. Dow Chemical 49% down. ExxonMobil 56% down. Goldman Sachs 41% down. JP Morgan Chase 42%, and Nike sneakers 37%. United Technologies 50%. Currently, the Dow is down 663, actually 664 at the moment. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is this is not fixable. And what's happening is Washington. Washington is going to determine, in my opinion, which companies live and which companies die. And the medical industry is going to determine which people live and which people die based on age. So what's happening is in Washington, lobbyists are lining up to convince your supposed elected representatives that they need a bailout. Okay? That would be the financial industry. That would be the investment banks. That would be the automakers. That would be airlines. That would be the restaurant industry. That would be people who have, or companies who have lent money on mortgage notes for homes and have lent money for car loans. All these companies are on the hook, and they are not being paid because people are losing their jobs at ever-increasing rates. So people won't be able to pay their electric bills. They need a bailout, meaning the electric companies, the gas companies, the petroleum companies. And then what you're going to see as we use less and less fuel, this is a big deal. And I'll tell you why. Fractional distillation of crude oil yields all kinds of products, such as gasoline and kerosene and lubricating oil and light oil and heavy oil. And at the bottom, when they're done cooking all this crude oil, what's left on the bottom of the pan is tar. That's what's mixed with gravel, and that's what we make our black roads out of. So as we use less and less fuel, we're going to have less and less asphalt to fix the roads. And that's true. And as gasoline prices keep falling and falling, it's theoretically possible. It's unlikely, but it's theoretically possible that the oil industry will pay people to take gasoline and diesel fuel, because there's a fixed percentage of gasoline and a fixed percentage of diesel and fixed percentage of all the other fractional distillates from refining. And they may have to get rid of some of it. Like gasoline used to be poured in streams because it was a waste product of making kerosene and lubricating oil. I'm serious. They used to pour it down the streams because they didn't know what to do with it until the car was invented. Really. It's true. So it may be, it's unlikely, but it may be that the petroleum industry will pay you to take gasoline because you're going to have so much of it. Gasoline is falling in price. Last Friday it was 58 cents a gallon wholesale. So I just wanted to share those things with you. And David, any thoughts for Dr. Shealy?
Yeah, so you impressed me about something. You knew about them dumping the gas down the drains and in the rivers until they found out how to use it. Not too many people know that.
Common sense, the uncommon commodity.
David, I'm interested in everything. Okay, I would never survive an interview for a job today because the guy interviewing me may say, "So what are your hobbies?" And I'd say everything. What are your interests? Everything. What do you like to read? Everything. It's true. It's all true. I'm interested in everything. And I'm probably going to run out of time before I learn everything. I mean, that's a certainty, right? We'll have Dr. Shealy's comments when we come back. But I got to tell you, class, this is for real. This is serious. And we're going down. We are literally going down. And we can't fix this. Nobody can fix this. Class, Dr. Shealy's with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. So, Dr. Shealy and David, I want to let you know that I started a new business, and I don't think I thought it out very well because the business model is really simple. I bought a bunch of chickens, and I bought some roosters, and I'm feeding them with layer crumbles and grains and grass, and I give away the eggs. So I don't think I thought this business out very, very thoroughly. But so what I've been doing is dropping off the eggs to the seniors. I actually, either walk down the road. There's nobody here, so it's not like I'm violating quarantine because there's nobody here. And I just leave them at their gate, and I call them and tell them that I'm going to do it. And then after I leave, they go get them. And so that's, this little business I have of giving away eggs. But my question, Dr. Shealy, is for you, fertilized eggs. So I called one of our senior neighbors and I mentioned to him that I'd like to drop off some eggs. Would that be okay? And he said, that'd be great. And I said, now they are fertilized. Is that a problem? And he said, well, I don't think they'll mind if I eat them soon enough.
Did you happen to see that horrendous thing from China of the young woman eating baby birds right out of the nest? I think it's the most repulsive thing I've seen in a long time. She ate 3 baby birds right out of the nest.
Alive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they do some pretty weird things over there.
Yeah, I've never liked China. I obviously don't know why. I've refused a dozen invitations to go there, and I will not go either to China or Russia. Both of them are on my do not visit list. They're quarantined for me long before this time.
So how do you feel about eating fertilized eggs?
Oh, well,
Dr.
of course. I mean, that's part of nature to me. I mean, there's nothing wrong with eating fertilized eggs. If they had a baby chick in them, I would not eat them.
Yeah. So I'm talking about, we live on a farm and the eggs are laid today and they go in the refrigerator and tomorrow they go to the neighbors.
Right.
It's like that.
I've done that for years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Next question. One of our instructors asked me to ask you about heart conditions. Now, a relative of his has AFib, and I believe his doctor told him don't take extra magnesium. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, that's the most stupid doctor in the world. The number one cause of AFib is lack of magnesium. Mm-hmm. But, of course, taking magnesium by mouth doesn't work well anyway. You have to take it through the skin to get a good dose.
Okay. Well, I wanted him to hear it from you because I believe I had an irregular heartbeat, and I treated it with your magnesium lotion and then spray, and it's gone. I mean, for me, it was gone in days.
Yeah, I've done that many times. I've even given some people with very severe cases a couple of shots IV, but that's got to be among the most stupid doctors I've ever heard in my life.
Okay. Well, I'm sure I'll have a chance to chat with him today. So someone who has AFib can certainly, your thought is to spray some magnesium lotion or magnesium spray, Dr. Shealy's magnesium spray or magnesium lotion. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. So I'll be sure to share that. Heart conditions, Dr. Shealy, do you have any suggestions for heart conditions? Because I understand that if you have an underlying condition and you contract the coronavirus, it's harder on you. So heart condition, lung condition, what other conditions, and what do you recommend we do?
Well, again, for everybody, even whether or not you have the heart condition, I do recommend, of course, that they prepare the immune system by reducing stress as much as possible, all kinds of stress, including anxiety especially, and depression, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But also taking an extra all-around B complex, such as my essentials, taking adequate vitamin C with MSM, such as my youth formula, and if they weigh over 140 pounds or more, 50,000 units of D3 once a week. If under 140 pounds, 50,000 the first 10th and 20th of every month. That's the foundation for the immune system.
Okay. So, Dr. Shealy, for those who want to get it, a class, David, Dr. Shealy, if you want to get it, all you have to do is go to normshealy.com. And do you have stock in all these items? The Dr. Shealy's youth formula, which is your vitamin C plus MSM, and Dr. Shealy's essentials, which is your multivitamin?
Right.
You're all stocked up with that and you can ship?
Fortunately, we are well stocked.
There you go, class. So if you want to get the best, in my opinion, there you go. And if you don't believe me, here's what you can do. You can compare the ingredients from, if you've got an old bottle lying around from the Chinese factory outlet, compare the ingredients to Dr. Shealy's essentials, to their multivitamin, and just look at the contents. I think that will convince you. Yes, David.
No, I don't mean to backtrack a little bit, but I don't think it's polite to interrupt you. Now, you brought up AFib and heart. Now, ever since Dr. Shealy recommended the magnesium oil, Dee has had heart surgery when she was little, a patch on one of the military bases. So it caused her the irregular heartbeat. Now, since she's been using that, they're tapering off of the regulated medicine to regulate the heartbeat. She's almost off it entirely.
Are you saying that she's using his magnesium?
Yes. She's using magnesium lotion. I bought a bunch of it. She's almost out. Then I got to order vitamin D and stuff from him now that I can access the site better.
Okay. There you go. So I'm not the only one that swears by it. David, do you have any more comments? We've got Kyle on hold.
Nope. I'll let you go. Thank you. Appreciate it.
David, thank you for calling in.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Kyle in Montana, welcome.
Good morning, gentlemen. Hey. I lost my job. They're kicking me out of my house. Some guy came by and ate my dog, and I'm wondering how I can reduce stress.
I hope you're teasing
Yeah, he
about
is.
the dog.
He is. is because he didn't share with you the part about where he was using shovel therapy to bury the guy that ate his dog.
Hey, we need a little humor these days.
Yeah, I find this interesting, Vince. Again, the banks are running the country, and that's the reality of what we're seeing with all of this oversight and the bailouts and everything. As an example, my daughter, who's got a mortgage, just got a message from her bank that says, you don't have to make your payment for 90 days. But at the end of 90 days, we can either refinance the amount you're behind or set up a payment plan so that you can catch up.
Wow.
I mean, they're not losing. They're not going to lose nothing. Not interest, not penalties, not anything.
I've got a comment about that, Kyle. When I worked at the bank, a credit card bank, I was in the president's office, and the marketing guy came in. He was the vice president of marketing. So now the three of us were in the office. First it was just me and the president, and I was giving him an update on what I was building in computer systems for the bank, and the marketing guy just barged in. He said, I got a great idea. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to offer teachers a one payment they can skip. And this was like in the 80s. So he was saying, this is a great idea. He was patting himself on the back about how bright he was, allowing teachers to skip a payment, one payment a year on their credit card outstanding balance. But the interest would keep running. And what he said was, teachers only work 9 months a year, so they don't get paid during the summer, so we're going to let them skip a payment, but we'll keep the meter running. So we'll keep charging them interest. And I thought, what bozo would fall for that? What teacher wouldn't be smart enough to see through that? That's exactly what you're talking about, Kyle. That the bank is offering the ability to skip payments, but keep the meter running.
That's exactly correct, Vince. And you know what? We have a bank around here that advertises that every Christmas. They say you can make a small minimum like interest payment on your credit card. I think it's like $25 or $30 instead of your normal credit card payment, and you can skip a payment once a year. They allow you to do it right around Christmas. They run it every single year. Wow. But on another note, Dr. Shealy, I had no idea you had a illustrated book on healing remedies, and I went to eBay as soon as Vince said that, and I ordered one. I could not believe it. $5.07 delivered.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. I did look it up and found it. It is on Amazon, but it's over $30 there.
Yeah. It's on eBay and used for $5.07. I couldn't believe it.
Now, there are two. This is a coffee table book class. This is impressive. Now, when you order it, look for the in the title on the heading if you get it eBay, and that's the first choice, eBay for this, and that's where I bought all of ours. It may say PV, and it may say HB. PV is paperback. HB is hardback. So if you want the hardback one, make sure you get that. And it's the same darn price. And literally, it's less than $10 shipped. And I've seen them for $5. I've seen them for $6. I've seen them for $7. And I think I've seen them for $1,000. I mean, literally. So
that is inflation.
I don't know if the guy can't type that posted it or the gal, but or doesn't know about arithmetic or just wants to see what would happen. But it is available just as Kyle said, absolutely for sure. And Kyle, do you have in front of you the title, or do you want me to reach mine and read the title?
I think it was. I don't have it right in front of me, Vince, because I dropped it off on my phone when I called you. But it was called the illustrated version in big letters, the illustrated version and of that. So
okay, it's
anyway,
called
it had the word illustrated in large letters.
Okay, it's called the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Healing Remedies. And it's a tall book, and it has a white cover. It truly is a work of excellence. And it's not just because Dr. Shealy is a dear friend of mine that I said that. It's true. It is a work of excellence. And when I said, if you're only going to buy one book, this is the book, I was not exaggerating either. So what I've done, class, is so far I think I've purchased maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 copies. I've had them shipped to people, friends and instructors. You know, when I find them, I just find out their address and have it shipped to them. And it's that good. It really is. And I suggest you get one right now. We'll be right back with Kyle and Dr. Shealy. Class, Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, and if you'd like to get his supplements to improve your chances of riding out the storm, this is not a commercial. This is an endorsement. This is what I'm doing. So Dr. Shealy's Youth Formula and Dr. Shealy's Essentials on his website, normshealy.com. And Dr. Shealy's clinic, if you want to call that number for to talk with Dr. Shealy or make an appointment for a remote consultation or maybe possibly an in-person consultation, 417-351-5221, 417-351-5221. Kyle, the official listing on eBay, there's about 5 of them available right now, all of them less than $20. Illustrated Encyclopedia of Healing Remedies by C. Norman Shealy. Now, they're all going to be used, every one. See if you can find one that is a hardcover. At least that's my preference. Here's one for $6.09. And here's what's happening. This is my opinion, that I find them available like at Goodwill, online stores at eBay. So Goodwills are selling these. Now, why are they selling them? Because I believe they were purchased by the parents. We'll call them the grandparents. And I believe the grandparents have died. And I believe that the children were left these books and they don't know how to read. So they're giving them to Goodwill. Goodwill doesn't know what to do with them. So they're selling them at less than 1 penny per page shipped. There's 500 pages in this book. You can't buy a ream of paper for $5, let alone have it shipped to you, included in the $5. Wait till you, Kyle, I have a favor to ask of you. When you receive this book, would you please call in and let us know what your reaction is?
Sure. That'd be
and I worded it that way.
Yeah.
I worded it that way to not bias you. Okay, please do. Okay, your
right.
Questions for Dr. Shealy?
Dr. Shealy, a couple of questions real quick. One, I've got a little diffuser that, just blows out a mist into the air. And I moved that into our kitchen, and I put a couple of drops of oregano oil in it with the water just kind of sitting on top. And it kind of makes the whole area in the kitchen area and around that area smell like oregano. So I think it's diffusing enough and actually putting oregano out into the air enough that I think it can't do any harm, would you think?
Oh, no, I totally agree. It's a wonderful idea. We need all the pleasant stuff we can get these days, and that would certainly be one of them, and it may well help your immune system.
The other question I had for you is the other day I took a fall on the ice around here and I jammed and tore something, I'm pretty sure, in one of my shoulders. It's still usable and everything, but I'm afraid I might have tore some part of the rotator cuff. But on a whim, I took and put some magnesium oil, just rubbed it on there just before I went to bed. And the pain was a lot less, and I don't understand how magnesium oil could decrease the pain in something like that. Is there a medical reason for that?
Yes, indeed. It is the single greatest quickie for any kind of muscle pain, and I don't know about all kinds of pain, but especially muscle pain. And anytime you tear any ligament or tendon or even a part of a muscle, there's going to be pain. So I do think magnesium applied locally is a good idea.
Okay, excellent. Well, Vince, that's pretty much all I had. It's just a matter of riding it out now. I think you're right. I think we're headed. There's too much financial stuff coming down the pike that banks and everything else, I think they didn't choose that 90-day number for my daughter when I told her about you don't have to make a payment for 90 days. They told her. I think they didn't choose that by accident. I think in 90 days you're not even going to recognize the country that you are living in.
Dr. Shealy, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think 7 days, 7 days at a time at this point, the radical changes can happen overnight, but certainly every week they're getting more so.
No question. Dow is down another, it's about 800 points at the moment, just under 800 points. So it did a little uptick, but we're down around...
The drop in the Dow already is greater than it was in 1929.
Yes, it really is. And, back in 1929, there was a big difference in the Dow. Back then, we had companies like Westinghouse and General Electric, and they actually made products. We had the automobile companies. We had Standard Oil. They actually made products. Now we have companies in the Dow like McDonald's. We have Nike sneakers. We have Verizon. We have Visa. We have Walmart, Walgreen, Johnson & Johnson. Actually, they make something, but I would try to avoid them if possible. Cisco. Name it. Disney. Why is Disney in the Dow? Really? Why? Home Depot. So, yeah, it's different. We used to make products. Now we make services.
China makes products.
Yeah. Dr. Shealy, thanks so much for being with us. Kyle, I just love your application of creativity to solving problems. Thank you so much for being with us.